Hello everyone, and welcome. It's Thursday, and you know what Thursday is? Beyond Small Talk Day. Hello and welcome to Beyond Small Talk. My name is Jackie Janik, and I'm a women's empowerment coach, helping women uncover their purpose and define their own path in the world. And today you are watching Beyond Small Talk. Real women, real conversations, elevating womankind one talk at a time. And I'm so excited to have my co-host this week, Jessica Perilla. She's on. Hi, Jess. I'm so excited to bring you on. She is the founder and creative director of JPD Studio. It's fueled by curiosity, driven by data, minority owned and women led. And I can't wait to let's get her on to talk about women in tech. I have so many questions, and Jess is like pioneering. And I noted there's only 25% women. We need to do better. Let's get Jess on and come and join us, Jess. Yay! Is it coming on for you? Okay, let me try one more time. Oh, there you are.
Hey,
Hi.
hey, hey, Jackie. Can
How
you hear
are
me
you?
okay?
Sorry. Yeah, I can. Sorry, I clicked off and then I was like, oh my God, no, I can't lose you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for joining me today. It's so nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
I know. It's been a while. Yeah, I can't
So
even
nice.
remember when the last time was that we got together.
No, me neither. But it's nice to see you. And I like your frames. They look good on you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Warby Parker. Yeah, I thought I would try the new style.
Yeah, you look great. Thank you. Well, thank you for coming. And I'm a huge fan of yours because I love how your brain thinks in both sides. I feel like you are. So Jez and I have worked together in the past, and we're friends, and we've been in the same women's circles communities. And I'm just always just so blown away by that you could be super creative. Like creative, like with graphics and design and colors and palettes, but then all the back end, like all the how I don't know how you make it come alive in digital world. So how did you get started? Like I just find that so intriguing to me. Like my brain mostly works creative in the back end. I kind of or Excel
hmm
spreadsheets. I get a little like, like that. So how did you enter the world? Like how did this get started for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved art, so that was my like number one passion. And like once I found out that you could, like when I was 19, I found out that you could work with computers and basically like make your art come to life. Like I knew immediately that that was what I wanted to do. Because I mean, back then, like this is literally like 20 something years ago that like I discovered, the world of like web design, computers, like visual arts. So I basically went in and I studied, how to code. I learned like all the technical side of things. And once I learned the technical side, I went to the School of Visual Arts and I studied design theory and I got my bachelor's in design and I merged the two. So I basically I learned the two sides and it was like the best thing I could ever do because like I basically was just like in love with the idea of it all like from day one.
Yeah, that's amazing. Again, just that you're able to merge those two together and bring them both to life. And yeah, like I know people like today are like, oh, websites, they've always been around, but actually they haven't,
Oh,
right?
right.
Like
Yeah.
they haven't always been around, you millennials and people younger than you. And I still remember my first job, there really wasn't websites where you could Google things and like figure out like anything and ask anything in the world. So that is so interesting. Like, how do you feel the industry, like the tech industry and behind the scenes has evolved? Has it evolved like super fast or what do you think?
I mean, it has changed, but slowly. So when I started, I mean, I would go to tech events and I was usually the only female in the room. And it was very disheartening. So I actually started my own group for women in tech. This was back in like, I don't know, like 2009, 2010. And so I would go to all these events with my meetup club of women. And I think since then there have been so many more groups of women that have formed created these types of communities for women in tech. And I've seen a huge, definitely like a huge community of women. I don't know that there has been a huge increase of like women being hired in these tech roles. And actually, you had shared that like really important stat about, how only 25% of women
Yeah.
currently hold like tech jobs in the US. And actually, I looked into it, and of those 25% of women, only five of them are in leadership roles. So that's like an even like bigger problem because women, all these tech products that we use, like there are like little to no women in the room making decisions for us, the women that are actually the ones using social media the most, like shopping the most, like using the internet the most, but we're not the ones we're not usually the ones in the back end behind the scenes, like behind the curtain, like actually making the decisions for those applications.
Yeah, and that's a huge challenge because, especially now, women in their 40s, I've done some research on us, that we are in a phase where we're shopping the most, have disposable income because we're spending for and shopping for our parents that are elderly, because a long time ago, parents didn't live till 70s, 80s, 90s, and we're shopping for either young children or something like that. So we have all this disposable income, but it's interesting to know that, like, who's behind making all my apps? Who's putting me on that customer journey on the website, and it's probably all men and bros, and I'm like, we got to change that. So why have women not entered the industry, or yeah, what has been preventing them, or do they just not know that this is an option? What do you think?
Well, I guess there are two things. Like early on, women, like young girls, may not be as likely to go into like computer sciences and study, or they might try, and when they fail, like they don't continue. So something that I actually learned from Reshma Saujani, who's the creator of Girls Who Code. She is an advocate for teaching our girls how to be brave and not perfect, because women are socialized to be perfect, and we don't meet a certain expectation, we like choose a different path. So if that's something that we can um, teach our young women, that would be definitely would make a huge difference. But like once women are actually in the field, there is a stat that says that 50% of women in tech will actually leave tech because of just like the culture that is not supportive of them. Maybe it's a bro culture. There are just so many reasons that women, not just women, but non-binary, LGBTQIA, and also especially women of color, like are affected and are not supported in these roles.
And it takes a lot of courage to walk into a room where no one looks like you. Or not even looks like you, have the same like parts as you, and you're like sitting at a table where it must be, it's tough to do. So I can see that not being sustainable as like a life uh, career choice. So Jess has her own company. It's called JPD Studio. I keep calling it JP Design, so I apologize for
It's
that. I know
fine.
what it is. I know what you do.
I love how
Um,
people interpret it differently. There's always a different kind of JPD studio designs. Like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, because to me, you're the digital storyteller, and that you design the whole customer experience from front to back end. And I'm like, who can do this? But you can. So when and why did you start JPD Studio?
So, I actually like my start in tech, like I had actually a really positive like start because when I started working in tech, my first employer, like he was very like nurturing of me. Like I was 19 and I started actually 20 when I started my first like in tech internship, and I started like coding and breaking stuff on the website. Like
Wait,
um
before we go a little further, for people who don't understand what coding is, can you give us like a definition of what exactly coding means?
I mean, there's so many levels of coding, right?
Uh-huh.
So the type of
Like
coding that
general,
I'm
yeah.
referring to is
Hmm.
like web development, like the front end of the site and the back end of the site. So what you see, the design of it, and also like what makes it come to life in the back end. So that's the code that I'm like referring to. There's also like software code, which we don't develop software, and there's like code for just every single like system application out there. So I'm specifically talking about web code.
So, if anyone has ever had a website or even used like Squarespace or WordPress, that's where usually it like I halt on my progress because I know what, I'd like things to look like. But when I go into the back end and I've seen you on and like click some things and all of a sudden everything turns to like just lines of data and I'm like, what the heck does this mean? It could be intimidating if you don't know what it is. So, okay, so thank you
Yes.
for, it could be very,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
and
just
it's
like,
actually really, it can be really scary when you're in it because even just like one character that's off could break the entire code. It could just break, it could take your site down. Just like one
like you're like,
comma.
oops, yeah, I put an extra comma. Shit, my site is that. Like that just like blows
Yeah.
my mind. So you were 19, 20, your first job, made some
Yeah.
blips in the
I mean, I had such a great team that
yeah.
helped me just continue and learn. And also the developers at the company were really great allies. And they would, I guess they took me under their wing and they would teach me like the more difficult coding. And I worked there for 7 years. And after that, I realized that I really loved coding, but I wanted to do it for more people. I wanted to serve more people and also just do it under my terms. So I like quit my job. It was like a really nice job and I loved everybody, but I knew that I had to go out on my own and it was very scary. I knew it was just something that I knew I had to do. And also like I had this like mantra of like, I knew I had to just leap and then that would appear. It was kind of that scenario. I was 25 and luckily, it worked out.
You're like, oh, and also because of your skills, it's worked out and how, again, I can't say enough about your professionalism and your keen eye to detail. And I'm sure when you code, you have to have like keen eye to detail because like you said, one blip and like you're like screwed. So where do you tap in and find your creativity? Like where do you get that from?
Creativity, I mean, for me, it could be, I mean, I love when I have the time, I'll go to museums. Like I find a lot of inspiration in art and everyday art. Just taking a walk like through New York City, and just honestly, yeah, just through art and stories, and just even like reading a poem could bring a visual like to me and inspire something. Like I'm mostly like inspired by definitely like stories and people. So once I hear something, I like immediately visualize like maybe how to achieve it, like how to create it. Also, there are so many different forms that an idea can take in the digital world now. So it could be a website, it can be an app, it could be now we have like virtual realities, VR, we have AR, augmented reality. There's just so many spaces where now we could create. We don't have to just choose like one type of medium.
Yeah, which is a lot of fun for creatives to like get their stories out there and their ideas and their messages and um, yeah, and just who they are and what they want to bring to the world, get it out there. Yeah, I have a website, but it needed some help, to be honest. Do you have any tips for creatives that need a website? Or someone like me, I'm in personal growth and development, and my expertise isn't website development. Or I noticed too, I've been interviewing people for my day job for a graphic designer. And now, I mean, when I was first started, you carried around a portfolio. You
Yeah.
had those big, remember, printouts, and I had a big portfolio, and I was like, yes. And now, everything's, you just go to their website and check out their work. Do you have any like
Hmm.
tips for someone who's like starting out and be like, you know what, maybe I want to blog, maybe I want to get my story out there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely like go for it. There's so many platforms, and I would be happy to provide maybe a sense of like what platform to use depending on like what your goal is. Like for example, if you're starting with like e-commerce, there are, you could start with Etsy, which is pretty straightforward, or you could go with like Shopify, which is actually like right now like the best platform to use for e-commerce, even if you just start with like a base plan, because it would really help you grow your business and it gives you in the back end the kinds of analytics that you would need to make decisions if you are, needing to grow. With WordPress, that is hands down like the best site platform for blogging still. When I started the company in 2007, that was the platform that we started working with. So thankfully, that's also still around for 14 years. And, we've been able to specialize in that platform. And it's more than just a blogging platform now, as it can really be, it's kind of can be molded into kind of any like in a very expansive, robust website with very complicated functionality, but it can also just serve as a blog. So that's WordPress is still your best bet. And for like a portfolio, maybe site that's more of like maybe a brochure or just something that it's like 5 to 6 pages, Squarespace has been also a really great platform because it lets you maybe more intuitively than WordPress, just maybe like customize the visual aspect of the site and you don't really have to touch any code.
Yeah, which I think for a newbie or someone who is not experienced in coding like myself, I want it to be more intuitive and just give me the ability to put my work out there and just upload stuff and, not try to figure it out. Do you have any tips on like, you should always have or does it not matter anymore? Because a long time ago it was like, always have like your details or the bar on the upper right. I know like for retailers, always put your phone number on the upper right or something like that. Like, does that still exist?
I mean, definitely having your contact info or a way to connect with you is something that you always want to make sure it's like obvious. So whether the call to action is to connect with you, call you, buy something, like there should always, like the user should always, you shouldn't make them think, right? Like the user should just intuitively know like where to go. And that's like the job, that's like our job is to make the user experience like as easy as possible.
That
So
makes sense
yeah.
because, yeah, like when I go online, no wonder why I shop so much is because the website is directing me to that big button that says, just press that. And then all of a sudden it's in my cart and I'm like, okay, I bought something else.
Yeah, they're gonna make it they even like gamify platforms to just make it easier to make you to push you to like want to like buy more to reward you. Once like you're rewarded through an app, like your brain is like stimulated and it wants to like buy more. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they do a good job with me. And even IG shops. I'm like, oh, IG shops, stop showing me things to buy. But that's the whole point. I get it.
Yeah. And
I get it.
I
That's
would
the point.
I would also say if you have a website, definitely invest in implementing like Google Analytics because most platforms will give you a very basic understanding of like what your website is doing in the back end, like who's visiting, what are they clicking on, etc. So with Google Analytics, they give you a much more like in-depth view of everything under the hood and it's free. So really all you have to do is copy some code and put it into the website.
Yeah, I've tried to do those things, and like you said, like one little thing could throw off your website. I've been pretty good at like copying what Google tells me to do. Yet I think you should hire experts to do this. I'm like, people kind of hire an expert or some sort of, yeah, it's hard to do. Well, from my
Yeah.
personal
I mean,
experience, it's not the easiest thing.
it does help, like once you've done it a few times and have the experience, you'll know how to troubleshoot something, if something goes wrong. And you want to make sure that it's done correctly, otherwise you won't get the benefits of it.
Yeah. So, women in tech, what would you tell other women? Like, what are the benefits about being in tech?
I mean, I personally, I love being in a space where, you can basically create a really powerful tools, like from nothing, like with pixels. Um, so once you have the know-how and you know how to code and like on the front end, how to create a really impactful design, like, like your audience and how to speak to them. Those are two really powerful skills that when they come together, you can basically achieve like anything, online. You can create your own website, you can create your own product. Honestly, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to start a business, like it really doesn't hurt to know, about technology. And and also just like in general, like I think we really need, it's like just so important that we have more women in tech and in leadership roles and more female bosses. We need more women, like women on boards. It's just, I think the number is just so tiny, right now, like how many women are on corporate boards helping make decisions at tech companies. And I actually read that companies that have more than two women on their board are more successful. Like they're like more profitable. So that, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. It's just like we just need to like hire more women and get more women just in like across the board.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm big, obviously, proponent of hiring and supporting other women. Do you feel that it might not happen just in tech, but anywhere, sometimes when there's, the one woman at top, sometimes I don't know if she's always supporting other women or not. Like, I think that's the message too, that the one woman who's there, that there's enough to go around. I've been talking about this more, that there's enough to go around for all of us, that true leadership is, seeing the potential and having the courage to embrace it and develop it. And sometimes when I talk to other women, you can hear a ting of like fear, as if I develop them and they get better than me, they're going to take away my job.
Mm,
And, like I've been hearing this a little bit. I'm in this organization called Optical Women's Association. My day job's in the
yeah.
optical world. And every so often I get this little, when you get that gut where you're like, oh, she's coming from a place of scarcity. And, um, I don't know if I'm sure that happens everywhere, but have you ever encountered that or see that, or like, what do you feel about that?
Um, so I mean, I guess like I may have seen that like in prior jobs. I mean, at JPD, we've always had a very collaborative, like the way we work, like we're just really supportive of each other. And there is really no like competition, because I feel like that really stifles the creativity. Um, and I'm like an advocate for like, I want women to succeed. I want like the people I work with to succeed, and I want them to go, kind of live their kind of best, be in like their zone of genius and just do the best work that they can. So I guess like I haven't experienced it, but I definitely have heard and read many stories about that. And it's just very disheartening because when you hear that, it kind of like takes over the conversation a bit. And, that's not what we want. We want to be focused on supporting each other. And there is enough, I mean, I think we just have to remember there is enough work for everyone. There are enough opportunities out there. And we can do the same work that men are doing right now in those same tech roles. We can fill those same roles. We just kind of have to work towards getting there. And also people on the other side, employers need to give women opportunities to, hire them and give them the opportunity to fill those roles.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I was always confident that you just created that environment of, people could be creative. Because run in the marketing department. I said the same thing. Like, you can't stifle creativity, like with like four walls, or like, I always want people to feel open and easy to be themselves. And I feel like that's when the best creativity comes, where there's no, I team player, no judgment, like create away. I always take what Tim Gunn says, edit. Didn't he always say like, I know that he didn't say just that, but that's what
Oh
I do with
yeah.
my work. I always like when people show up and create like very elaborate things. And I'm always like, okay, as long as you could go there, you could always pull back, right?
Yeah.
Um, Thank you. Oh my God. I love working with you and seeing with you. And before we take off, what do you do for self-care?
Oh yeah, I saw that you had that.
So I was like, what do you do for self-care?
Like I didn't even think about that too much. It's really like definitely I'm better at it these days. It's been really tough to have. For me, it's I guess in general tough to have a routine of self-care. But when I am able to do self-care, it's usually some meditation, reading, um, just like trying to take a me day whenever I can to try to completely disconnect from work, which is like really, really difficult. But I think once I like set out to disconnect, usually I can, if I'm like going to like just nature, you know, being in nature helps. Usually I can eventually disconnect. Yeah, that's really important for me.
Yeah, I love taking me day. I encourage everyone to schedule it in their calendars. Like go in your Google Calendar or whatever and just schedule a whole day, say me. Just me. I'm Jones in a me day. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm going to schedule one of those. I really want one.
Yeah.
Like excites me even just to say it. And let me tell all women out there, I didn't feel like 1 ounce of like selfishness when I just said that, because self-care is not
Mm.
selfish. Self-care is
Hmm.
not selfish, people. Self-care is not selfish. So thank you so much. I am so thankful that you're bringing awareness around women in technology, and we need more of it, and welcoming environments for women to show up and create like our future. Like I want a woman behind those scenes there, doing whatever you guys code and create my experience online.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm so happy that we could chat. And also, I just want to add there is a really amazing mentoring group called She Went for Her Dreams. And they have a mentor circle, which I actually served as a mentor recently on. And anyone that is maybe in tech or is looking to be in tech, like you can sign up and, you know, be assigned to someone that can assist you. I mean, there's so many organizations out there, and I can share a few that can help you, like either get into tech, change careers to get into tech, or just like find, you know, mentorship in tech to help you, you know, just kind of go further.
Yeah, it's really important. Like especially with only 25 people in the industry, you have to find each other to help guide through the system. What is it called again? Just one more shout out of it.
She went for her dreams.
She went for her dreams. I love it. I'll add that to the notes for everybody if you're looking for mentorship in the industry. So thank you so much, Jess. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. So good to be here.
Oh, yeah. Beyond Small Talk every Thursday, IG Live, or catch us on your favorite pod, Audible, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. I figured out how to do all that in the back end. So check us out. Thank you so much, Jess.